All right, today is November the 5th, 2025, and I want to go over much of what we talked about last night and yesterday regarding the UPS Flight 2976 and my tweet about it. So if you look here, I'm getting the tinfoil hat meme. So yesterday I tweeted this. Flight 2976 UPS crash, 2976 9/11 death toll. And this tweet has been viewed 366,000 times so far. So here's a little backstory. 3 planes into buildings, Twin Towers, Pentagon, 4th plane, Pennsylvania. The attacks killed 2,976 and injured thousands more. And this is FBI.gov. It's just to set that straight. There are people who dispute the number. Do you add the terrorists? Do you not? Isn't it just 3,000? Well, I'm just going by the numbers that were given. And then here we have large explosion after UPS flight 2976 crashes near Louisville Airport in Kentucky. So now the reason why I made this connection is because my overactive pattern recognizing monkey brain, or maybe something else. Maybe because whenever we look at a major event, we have to consider who produced it. The same people who produced the previous fake events, the previous staged events, simulated events. It's not like the media is objectively just reporting stuff for us. Everything has an agenda. Now, there might be exceptions. I'm open to them. But if it's hitting a mainstream audience, a mass audience, every platform, you can't ignore it. It's likely integrated. And as you'll see, this basic observation started to connect. And that's what I want to talk about, the dots that have been connected. It reached 175 feet. United Airlines Flight 175 was a commercial airliner hijacked by terrorists on September 11th, 2001, and the second plane to hit the World Trade Center. So what I'm saying here is, first of all, you have the 9/11 connection of the death toll and the flight number. Now you have the altitude correlating with the second plane. Muhammad Ali Airport. Well, Muhammad Atta was the lead hijacker, so you have that. Then you have breaking Dearborn, Michigan, terror plot, Muhammad Ali and Mahad Mahmoud accused of stockpiling weapons for an ISIS-inspired attack. But they got foiled. No virgins in paradise for them. So then I go to the wiki because somebody said, where'd you get the number 275? Could you tell that all from a pixelated grainy shot? And I said, no, it's on the wiki even. And right now the total fatalities is 9/11. Yesterday it was 4/11, which 11/4, 4/11 seem kind of coded. But here we have 9/11 built into it. And this is weird. You can see this on Wiki. It's quite literally a side view of the plane. But then in the middle of the screen, it looks to be a giant cat, like a cat meme. It's in the Wiki. This is not me. This is in the Wikipedia. Penguinati Auto Hoaxer pointed it out. He said, is that a giant cat staring out of the explosion? And yeah, apparently so. But what's more is that if you look at the 9/11 photography, there's actually a pretty famous example of a devil face seen in the smoke. So if we look at the cat face, that would be another similarity. So we're just piling up the so-called coincidences here. This is for entertainment and deprogramming purposes only. So somebody says, what do you think this all means? And I said, given the timing of Dick Cheney's death, I suspected some kind of elaborate 9/11 themed Viking funeral. And he's probably on the plane getting cremated. And it's probably remote controlled. I mean, that was my first thought. Somebody said, but the number, it was 2977. Actually, it went back and forth. Here's some FBI.gov history famous cases 9/11. And it says the attacks killed 2976 and injured thousands more. Many first responders are dealing with adverse effects from toxic conditions. Now, I'm not saying the event was real. I mean, we all know my thoughts on it. I think that it was likely directed by Stanley Kubrick, James Cameron. A lot of the script ideas likely came from Tom Clancy, but that's a side note. FBI reports 2009-76. Here's We Will Never Forget, FBI Kansas City, 2976. So now we've beaten that dead horse. Let's just continue. So again, the reason why it stands out as interesting is Dick Cheney's association with 9/11 and the plane's altitude. It crashes into a building, very Pentagon-y, and then the flames, the dramatic flames, it all recalled 9/11. And then you have Zohan wins New York City and the plane crashes. So a lot of people are noticing the irony in this, where you have who's being cast by the right as basically Osama bin Laden is now the mayor of New York. And subsequently, Twitter has been flooded with the deluge of 9/11 imagery. Even Rudolph Giuliani tweets a picture of the towers like, I told you never forget. Like, their implication is that they literally put a terrorist in the Twin Towers. So now you're seeing a ton, and I'll go through some of these tweets and read them. You see a ton of 9/11 stuff now associated with the same day Cheney dies and the plane hits the building. Someone says they always go for the simulation or the symbolism. It's just the simulation. What the F is this? A lot of people are confused by this. A lot of people are, whoa, this is crazy. This is just a wild coincidence. Well, if somebody says this is just a coincidence, ask them to take out a pen and paper and write down the definition of coincidence. Because I don't even think they know the meaning of the word. Because it's a coincidence, yeah. But what we're suggesting here is this coincidence the result of intentionality? Was it scheduled? Was it faked? Someone had said, can you just be open-minded enough to consider that this all might just be coincidence? I'm like, what do you mean open-minded? The closed informational system of the world stage presumes it's all coincidence. To go outside of that box and include other possibilities, such as pre-scheduled scripted events, that would be something you would reach with an open mind, open inquiry, outside their closed system. Again, I'm running through the tweets. What's wrong with your brain? Yeah, see, a lot of people are kind of mad about this, but the fact that this tweet has, let me get the latest number because it's going up. This tweet is, considering the size of my account, I consider it to be somewhat viral. 368,000 views. So it's been a few thousand views just since we've been sitting here. So now let me go over and reiterate the basic claims here. So 11/4, Dick Cheney dies. He's associated with 9/11. Left is celebrating, as we'd expect. Flight 2976 spectacularly explodes. Flames. It goes up 175 feet, which, again, Flight 175 hits the thing kind of like the Pentagon. It's hitting the building. 9/11 hitting the building. So you have this theme. We're talking about themes, of course. Muhammad Ali Airport, Dearborn, Michigan terrorist Muhammad, and then the New York mayor, and the resultant flood of 9/11 imagery, and the irony people see in New York electing a Muslim mayor, and then a plane hits a building. Like, you see what I mean? It's coincidental, yeah, but it's also irony. It's funny from a certain perspective. Maybe not haha funny, but like, what the hell is this? Again, the other connection here is that the flight number of the plane crashing the building matches that 9/11 death toll. And this was the first thing that clued me in to look a little closer for what I call hoax indicators. Now, others have found more, other clues, other indicators that this thing might be all scripted and the plane was probably empty. Again, I kind of would have to argue here too that we're talking about the same media that simulates terror attacks. So there's no reason to jump to the conclusion it's real just because it looks real, if specifically the event ties into the wider media ecosystem in an eerie, ironic, or convenient politically way. So the timing of the mayor being elected, Cheney dying, like to me, that right there is plenty. Then you throw in the flight number, the altitude, the name of the airport. It just, to me, this looks like a scripted send off for Dick Cheney. Do I really think he got a Viking funeral in a flaming plane? No, but I wouldn't put it past them. So that's where we're at right now. If you're going to call it a coincidence, I want to know your definition of coincidence. The easy thing to say is people noticing connections are mentally ill, put them in a padded room. It's like, that sounds like the system's immune system. Like, what are you, a T cell? An Agent Smith? Like, what we're examining here is the architecture of media itself, not under the delusion that media is there to give you information for your own edification. No, the purpose of media is to conform you to their prefabricated events. If you haven't noticed, these major events all have indicators suggesting that they are planned long in advance. Obviously, a mass casualty simulation or a drill or an event requires pre-planning. Well, so too do fake news events. Therefore, they are proactively creating history. My present focal point is trying to determine how far in advance are major events being planned. And what does this say about elections? What does it say about everything? Is the entire political engagement nothing more than a steam valve to keep us distracted from the fact that they have somehow spellbound humanity into what they view to be a utopia? Maybe it is utopia. I don't know. But we're going to continue to talk about this and many other things here soon. I'm just testing out some new functionalities on Restream, and I'm working on developing a remote server so I can remotely upload archives and put them into rotation on a 24/7 live stream. So thank you all for your participation and comments. And I'm going to also make it a point daily or a few times a week to do a video where I just read your comments. So I'm saving all your comments, I'm clipping them out, putting them all into a folder. So we will see you then.